Here's another episode of Straight Up Mortgage Talk. I got a big smile on because I'm in a Hawaiian shirt, sunglasses, and we're talking about buying second homes, talking about vacations, living in resort type areas. And we're talking to Monica Minnick from Sotheby's Real Estate, who's an expert on this. And she's going to tell us the advantages and disadvantages about all of this. So let's get started. All right, Monica. So I wanted to do a second home deal, buying in a second home area, resort type area, living in a second type home area. And I knew you were like the person. Sotheby's is where you work. You're up in Blue Jay, Lake Arrowhead area, and you live this every day. So I'm super excited to have you on here. So the first question I kind of want to get started on is basically what it's like buying a second home. Like, what are the normal type of people that do this? Just kind of tell us a little bit about the feel and everything and of your clients that do second home purchases.
The ones that we see more coming up here for the second homes currently are the ones that have actually visited a VRBO or Airbnb or have friends that have homes up here. They've come up 2-3 times and decided that this is something that they want to continue to do a lot of it had to do with COVID. And they felt safe up here. So we're seeing anywhere from people buying up from 100,000 up to 1.5 million second homes.
Wow. So that kind of leads me to my next thing. So we have a lot of people that bought for second homes, and you just talked about COVID. And so we've just gone through this transition where people are really sort of being able to work from anywhere or going to the office less. And one of the things I've seen is that there's quite a few people nowadays that are not just moving up there as a second home, but they're moving up as a permanent home, because guess what? Where you are located in most areas nowadays, but up in Blue Jay and Lake Arrowhead and Big Bear and all that, they have fast internet. What kind of explain a little bit and talk a little bit about the people that have moved up there to make it like their permanent place versus just a second home?
A lot of the clients that we're seeing that are coming up here permanently are ones that actually were in an office and then transitioned because of COVID into their homes. The offices now are allowing them to work from home. And these clients are coming up here now permanently because they're seeing that they can get a lot more for their money as far as a home is concerned. And yes, we do have Spectrum up here and Verizon, which are very high-end internet systems. And they feel that the ones that have children, they feel that their kids have more opportunities to do things such as water skiing, horseback riding, rock climbing, trails. It's a vast more outdoor experience for children other than just sitting at home on a TV playing virtual games.
So do me a deal. So Rancho Cucamonga, LA type areas. I think you said from Orange County, right? So
yeah,
you kind of
Orange County, yes.
Yeah. So you're actually one of those people who ended up transitioning into moving from the Orange County city type more place to actually the mountain area. So do me a favor. So if I was going to buy a 2,000 square foot property, and let's just go average Orange County Inland Empire, about what would I pay as compared to average up in, say, the Lake Arrowhead area?
Depending on the community, if let's say you were in Laguna Niguel area, San Clemente, a 2,000 square foot home there would be averaging from probably about $875,000 to $1.5 million, depending on the location.
No, let's go into my neck of the woods, right? Claremont, Upland, Rancho Cucamonga, a little bit more affordable.
Yes, Rancho Cucamonga, you're looking at probably about $870,000 to $1 million.
Right. So for the 2,200 square foot, we might get in a little bit lower if you're not going for the fancy. But okay, so now we go up to Blue Jay, Lake Arrowhead. We've got pine tree smell. We've got potentially lake within walking distance. And whatnot. We're getting away. We've got the small town feel and all that kind of stuff that you don't really have in some of these other areas. What kind of range are we talking about? I mean, obviously you have Lakeview, which is on Extreme, and then you have just the regular 2,000 square foot house you can live in. What's the kind of range there?
Well, you have to also understand too, if somebody wants lake rights, since we are a private lake, not like Big Bear, that is a community lake where everybody can use it. It's
Right.
public. So in Lake Arrowhead, if you are going to be in Lake Arrowhead proper, which is called Arrowhead Woods, you're going to be looking at approximately on a 2,000 square foot home, anywhere from about 500,000 to 700. So
Okay,
it's
and that's lake right. You can put a boat on the water, you can walk around the lake, you have all that kind of stuff. Let's say that's Arrow proper, Arrow Woods, right? Let's say you're
yes.
not going to buy an Arrow Woods, which of course in Rancho Cucamonga you don't have those things. So let's say like in Claremont, Rancho Cucamonga, you're just buying a regular house, like in those types of areas where you're not going to have that kind of thing. What kind of price range if you don't really care about putting boat on the water, that kind of stuff?
Or touching it.
Yeah. You can walk at it, you can look at it, you can, do this. You just can't put your foot in it. Okay.
Like, yes. If you're going to just look at something without lake rights and you're going to go into like Blue Jay, Twin Peaks, Running Springs area, there's Cedar Glen. We have there's about 7 other communities up here, Arrow Bear,
Correct.
Green Valley Lake. You're going to look probably around anywhere from 350 to about 500, sometimes even higher, because even though a house doesn't have lake rights potentially right now due to COVID, our property prices have caught up with the rest of California and they are skyrocketing right now. I mean, most of our homes are selling anywhere from 50 to 150,000 over asking.
Right. Which at the time of this, we're May 2021, COVID's really brought a lot of buyers out. And quite frankly, what we're talking about is not just second homes, but also people wanting to permanently live there, where it's not just a second home market and people can talk about using like primary resident dollars. It's kind of pushed values up. But part of it is, hey, if I can work from anywhere, how about the nice view outside my window versus, a busy street or whatnot? I can look at pine trees and lake view or whatever. So that is kind of one of the things that you've seen definitely impacted. So a lot of people are buying the second home deal. They've been working up there during COVID. They buy the second home and then they test the waters to see if maybe they could live up there permanently, as we've seen. And then others just buy it flat out second home with the idea that they'll Airbnb or rent it. So first of all, kind of tell me, like, how does that work for people? And I know, and also kind of jump in the second part of this, how do you think as COVID sort of weans down, the Airbnb market will be like replacement for hotels and that kind of stuff in the long run?
I think as far as the Airbnb and VRBO are concerned, the clients that are coming up here to purchase second homes, they've decided, hey, I can take my money out of the stock market and put a sizable down payment down on a second home currently, which a lot of them are tending to do right now because they're thinking that the stock market is going to slow down eventually and they don't want to have a correction and they can touch, a home, the dirt. So we're seeing a lot of them do that currently right now. The second home market has always been extremely profitable up here and popular due to we have the 4 seasons. We're close to the skiing. What people have to understand again in Lake Arrowhead, if you have lake rights, your VRBO and Airbnb clients cannot utilize the lake. That is no longer available, whereas in Big Bear you can. So we have to educate them on that. The same with if you're in a homeowners association, the majority of the HOAs do not allow VRBO or Airbnb.
Interesting.
So it is more potential for a client from down the hill to use an agent up here who can, guide them through the process up here and show them the areas. Because if you go on the north side of the lake, it's 15 degrees warmer than the south side of the lake.
Right. I mean, that's where, like, in an area where you are second home area, I mean, like, local knowledge is just absolute critical. Having a realtor that knows all the ins and outs. I mean, I've had people use somebody that wasn't from up there and they didn't even know, like, they had to live within Arrow Woods to have access to the lake. They bought a house, closed on it, and then found out when they went to the Arrowhead Lake Association, for example, that they didn't have access to the lake. They had to go buy a lot or something to have access. So that's super critical. And I think it's super critical in most areas, but really critical when you're buying in second home areas and stuff like that. So let's talk about, okay, Airbnb, you can basically cover your cost. You can have a place you can touch and feel. I personally have had a place in Lake Arrowhead since 2003. And so I've lived this, right? Well, it's the only place that my son, when he was a teenager, would be seen with me. So we still had some quality family time. He still uses it now that he's 30 and goes up there with his dogs, and he loves the snow. I mean, my wife would probably replace me before she replaced the Lake Arrowhead place. Let's just be honest. Okay. She loves that. I mean, it's like an hour away from where we are in Claremont. We get away. It's just like you said, the Four Seasons, a whole different world. So one of the reasons I want to do this is because this, not only from an investment standpoint, and that's what I want to get to, it's been great, but also just from a family feel, relaxation. Both my wife and I work a heck of a lot in stressful jobs, and it's just a decompress like there's no tomorrow. Couple things. So what kind of investment does second homes end up being? And, in the long run, like somebody buys a second home more for the pleasure of using it. But from an investment standpoint of like, how long do people normally hold on to these things? And, is there a return on investment in the long run for what is essentially a vacation?
Correct.
You get my drift?
Yes. So a lot of the people that we see tendency have a 10-year turnaround period,
Okay.
From people buying in 2004, maybe selling in 2014, and now again in 2021. We see people that have the lake homes right now, the ones right on the lakes. They've been in the family for 40, 50 years. Those are having a turnover right now. And the reason being is because they're in trusts. They see the capital gain that they're going to achieve as far as what they would have sold it for 2 years ago to today's current market. A lot of them are saying, we need to get on that train and ride it and get our monies back on these homes. The potential, you can get a house that's only $350,000, a little 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and make about $5,000 a month. A 3-bedroom, 2-bath will make $9,000 a month up here.
And so let me clarify that, because it sounds like everybody's just going to quit their jobs and get rich. And maybe if you have the Taj Mahal behind your head right now on the screen, for the Sotheby's has some pretty beautiful properties that you could get like 9,000 and all this kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is, that's before cost, that's before the mortgage, that's before cleaning, that's before that. This is a gross deal. And like any rental income, you've got, sort of costs and everything else. So investment wise, though, somebody can have a place to go to with the family, enjoy, and like, see this, I have this finance degree that always thinks about like, how does this work out for my clients financially? And I look like, I probably paid like $230, $240 for my second home up there. We've enjoyed it since 2003. It's that place to go. Of course, we paid for maintenance. Of course, we paid for a mortgage, and we don't Airbnb it. We just like use it and let family and friends use it. But now it goes out to the point where if I want to sell it, you're right, I'm in the 450 to 500 range. So I look at it and I go, I got a second home. I basically had my vacations paid for by appreciation, even if I didn't rent it, even if I didn't cover it. Now, if I Airbnb it or I rent it, now I can be in a position where I've technically paid for my vacations with Airbnb money or whatnot, which is what we're seeing a lot. So that's pretty good. So all in all, what you've seen is it's been pretty dang good investment for families.
Correct. It has been a good investment as long as they maintain and they're responsible with the investment. So some of them tend to get a little lackadaisy, and, San Bernardino County has put the kibosh on it as far as 3 strikes, you're out. So we have to let them know that they really need to monitor who is renting their home.
Okay. So let's get into that, right? Because this is where it gets fun. So you have these houses up there that everybody's like, woohoo, 4 seasons, right? They're super excited. They're going to see fall. They're going to see winter. And like me, it's a little bit of an eye opener when you find out what, these other normal Southern California people find out what 4 seasons does to a home. Maybe a little bit more maintenance, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
And so if you don't take care of it, what you're talking about, sorry to cut you off, but what you're talking about is like, people don't take care of their houses. they can deteriorate fast.
Absolutely. Up here, you have the snow. If you don't remove the snow from the sides of your, homes, you're going to have dry rot. You're going to see that your siding's getting eaten up, that it's basically poke your finger through it, and that can become costly because you're going to have to replace it. Paint up here, if you don't follow, what they say as far as what paint that you should use for the area, that's also on your decks. If the snow sits on the deck, if you don't have a Trex deck and you have a wood deck, you're going to have, again, wood rot because all that moisture is sitting there. So it is for an owner, they need to be responsible as far as the maintenance up here. The same with their fireplaces. You should always have it checked every single year, clean and inspected.
So when it really comes down to it is understand when you're buying a house that's in a second home area, and whether that's the beach area where, the salt, potentially has a little bit more of an impact, or the desert area where the heat has a little bit more, because this is kind of in California, right? Our second homes, and even most of the United States, our second homes are in areas that are either hot because we want to go to the heat, they have snow so we can go skiing and snowboarding and all that kind of stuff, or they're at the beach where we go surfing and, enjoy the ocean. But those things tend to have a little bit more, challenging weather. Yeah, and you got to really make sure you do the upkeep. And that's something that I want to bring in from a financial standpoint, is that when you do these second homes, if you're Airbnb-ing them, like, you have to allow for that budget, because they're going to have more damage to them when you Airbnb and have people coming in and out. You have liability risk and all that stuff. You have to factor that maintenance in, and even more maintenance if you're Airbnb-ing it and stuff, into what you're thinking about. Like, you can't just go, oh, I'm going to have $9,000 of income a month. It's going to be easy. You got to really think about all those other items, like the cost of all those things. And so,
with some people, when people come to me and tell me that they want to buy this as not just a second home, but also a VRBO, I always tell them, I hope to God that you have at least 12 months reserves saved up. And the reason being is because last year when COVID hit in 2020, a lot of the VRBOs, as you know, were shut down.
Correct.
So no income was coming in. And, so they were having to feed that second home or that VRBO out of their own piggy bank. Right. And some people they don't have the mentality to sit and save. Sometimes they see all this money coming in and they think, oh, this is a free for all. It's not. Any financial advisor is going to tell you that you should have at least 12 months reserve, that you should have at least 30% somewhere for maintenance, because up here, what people don't, if you don't leave your heat on and some numbnut turns the heat off and water is left on.
Well, that's never happened to me at my place when I let friends and family use it.
Then
the bill the next month, by the way, is an eye opener, just FYI.
Yes. So then you come home and you enter the house and you've got a frozen waterfall and you're like, wow. So these are things that people, trees, we have tree situations up here from the bark beetles. And if it's on your property, you have to maintain the big pine trees. That's an expense. Same with the oak trees. People don't realize that. There's a lot of different factors.
Yeah. So that's like brings me to another point about having a local realtor in that area. So you don't live in that area, you have maintenance issues. And one of the things that I found out was so critical by having the sort of local agent in that second home area is that they know tradespeople. And I call it mountain time. When you're trying to get something done up there, it's at least 3 to 5 times the time I'm going to take down the hill to get something done and to get people to show up, right? It's a little bit, again, one of the beautiful things about it is it's a slower pace. I can go to the hardware store and I don't have a big like box hardware store. I can talk to the guys and they'll tell me how to fix things. My wife just cracks up. I'm like, I get to go to a hardware store. I'm so excited. It's like my childhood being relived again. But finding people to do this maintenance is one of the things I can tell you. Having that local agent with the relationship with tradespeople, chimney cleaners, who to use is critically important. So kind of wrapping it up, I think we gave people a good feel, like a reality check feel too. Great money, possible, couple things to be aware of in second home, especially up in the mountain resort areas that a lot of our people do. How, first of all, Who do you work for? Where do you work? How do people get hold of you if they want to kind of look into the second home? Or, hey, you know what? We're actually thinking about moving up there permanently and working from there. How does that feel? Look, pricing, how do they get hold of you and sort of look into that endeavor?
Well, I work for Wheeler Steffen Sotheby's for Paul Steffen, who has 3 offices, one being in Claremont,
Correct.
one here in the Blue Jay Lake Arrowhead area, and then we have another one in Big Bear. They can get a hold of me by calling my cell at 760-207-1537. And
One more time, real slow.
760-207-1537.
That's for the people that don't know how to rewind video.
Okay. And I'd be more than glad to take them down, and let them know the areas. I always tell my clients, it's best that you come up here 3-4 times, get to know north side, south side, the different topography, Arrowhead Woods, all of that. Because
Awesome.
on the north side, what people don't tend to is if you're in a higher elevation, you get the wind. Your house gets blasted with the wind and the sun.
Yeah.
Versus
Again, local knowledge, 4
Mhm.
seasons, maybe a little bit more. I mean, there's always something to know in real estate, that local knowledge, that realtor who really knows their stuff is invaluable. But especially where you have very eclectic type of different areas, like, mountain resorts. And, I remember looking at homes and like, getting a warning like, hey, some of these cabins were built here and then they decided to add that bedroom. So yeah, you got to walk through this bedroom to get to that bedroom. So make sure you knock first, right? I mean, it's hilarious. Like there's some sort of weird floor plans and stuff when you're talking about these kinds of areas. Having that local knowledge like yourself is just absolutely critical. And what is the differences, the steep driveway where you can park during the snow. When you go up right now, you don't think about that. But it's critically important when you decide you want to go up there and enjoy the snow. Only a person who lives up there and deals with that is going to tell you that. And then the local knowledge to say, oh yeah, all that snow and you want to come visit your place, I need to call Monica and tell me how to get the damn thing, the shoveled out so that I don't have to spend my whole vacation time trying to get into my house that's got 4 feet of snow on the driveway. And of course, they're very popular once you get snow, right? All these kinds of things are important. So Monica, thank you very much for being on. We really appreciate your insight. And again, people want to get a hold of Monica. It is
760-207-1537. And I'm with Wheeler Steffen Sotheby's International Realty in Lake Arrowhead.
And again, a lot of, say again.
I said, thank you, Tim, for having me on.
Oh, you're very welcome. And if you ever walk by their office up there in Blue Jay, they have a bunch of pretty pictures of all the amazing houses you can buy. And I like to look at them because I can't afford them, because they show stuff all over the world, oh, that's only 10 million. That's only 20 million. I'm like, oh, just pocket change. But, hey, I don't know. Everybody's got a budget, right? I'm just not at that budget. Thanks again.
Neither am I.
So we're real people.
Yes, we are.
But we can show you really expensive houses if you want.
Yes, we can. We enjoy doing so.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.